Welcome back to Vikes with a mic. As always, I'm your host, JC, here along with my co-host and good friend, Tyler Williams. Tyler, it's been a couple weeks. You know, the Vikings, we didn't get any postseason chances.
No, sir.
Don't get to partake in the craziness that is the 2021-2022 NFL playoffs right now. Both one seeds out. Some crazy games happening this last weekend. We're not going to get too into the weeds with things, but man, it just, it sucks not being a part of the playoff conversation. But you know what doesn't suck? A new era of Minnesota Vikings football.
For real.
That new era seems to be starting today. At least the groundwork is being set today. Many of us were shocked by the news this morning / early afternoon when GM candidate Ryan Poles decides to forego his interview that was scheduled tomorrow with the Minnesota Vikings and tell the Chicago Bears that he intends to sign on as their next general manager, leaving the second finalist, or perhaps in the organization the first finalist, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who was interviewing today already in Minnesota, left for the GM vacancy, the Minnesota Vikings. That is, if something horrible doesn't happen within the next couple hours or whatever, and we start from scratch. But it looks like your Minnesota Vikings have a new GM in the works. It's going to be Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. This man has worked in many areas, but most recently he has worked for the Browns. He was their vice president of player personnel, I believe.
And football operations as well.
Football operations, yes.
Yep.
So he's also worked with the 49ers for a couple of years over there in their front office. He was the manager of football research and development. And that was for 4 years, I believe, or 5 years. And he obviously started out.
He was with the 49ers as a total from 2013 to 2019. So, but I get what you're saying.
Oh, he was there for 6 years.
Yeah.
So my bad. My source is incorrect here. I guess for the last 2 years here, yes, he was running the department. That's what it is. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. So obviously Andrew Berry, the GM of the Browns, he saw what was going on over there in Santa Clara and liked what Adofo-Mensah was bringing and hired him in 2020. And as you mentioned, for the last 2 years, he's been the vice president of football operations. Analytics guy for sure. He was a finance guy at the beginning of his career. He's only been in the NFL for like a decade. 2013 was when he got his first shot, as you said. So he worked as an associate portfolio manager at Taylor Woods Capital, and then was vice president / executive director at Credit Suisse as a commodities trader prior to joining the NFL. So this dude knows, he's an economist, basically, is what he is.
You want one interesting fact? I believe him and Mark Wilf actually both went to Princeton. I just literally figured this out a couple hours ago. To be honest, I think they both went to Princeton. So I think these two might have a prior relationship. Just want to throw that out there. I think that's kind of interesting.
It's possible. Yeah, he has a degree in economics from Princeton, and then he has a master's degree in economics from Stanford.
Yep.
So smart guy, by the books, but also has been a part of 2 franchises that, as of late, have kind of made like rapid rises, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
they've brought in people that have made a lot of changes, have been very aggressive about going out there and, not only getting their
Yep.
guys and developing them, but also, making trades for people that are already in the league that they feel can really shine with the team. When you look at both the Niners and the Browns, I mean, the Niners obviously
Yeah. The Niners.
they had a
That's a
rough
big
year last year,
roster
but that was because of
due to injury.
injuries. I
Yep.
mean, like technically, you keep that squad healthy last year, and as we see right now, like they are still a Super Bowl roster, and that's with Jimmy G. Like imagine once Trey Lance finally figures it out, like
Yep.
how much of a like just dominating team they are going to be in the NFC. And I mean, you can't attribute Trey Lance to Adolfo-Mensah, obviously, because he wasn't there when they drafted him last draft.
Yeah.
But a majority of the building blocks that have been there, for the
A
past,
lot of them. Yeah.
3 years back, basically, a lot of that is in part due to Adolfo-Mensah, and as well as the Browns. I mean, you look at again
That Browns roster. I just want to say this to make this a clear statement. That's a good Browns team. Yes, this Browns team didn't make the playoffs last year. That's another team who was hurt. They've got a bad situation at quarterback, but overall, they've got a solid defense. They've got a very solid offensive line. Maybe need a little bit more playmaking at a wide receiver and at the skill positions, but overall, as a roster, that's a good team. They just need a couple more pieces.
Oh, for sure.
That's just my opinion on the Browns. I mean, yeah.
No, I think that I think you're dead on. I feel like there's so many, personal ties between the Browns organization and the Vikings organization.
Oh my gosh,
and I mean,
yeah.
like that's
right.
obvious, right?
Yeah.
Like you see it all over the coaching staff, but I know that there are some other guys in the front office too that used to work in Minnesota, and vice versa with guys that have come to Minnesota from the Browns organization. And I hesitate because I think a lot of people, especially like seasoned football fans, still have that kind of like last 20 to 30 years, let's call it, Browns in their mind. And that's like totally understandable, right? Like the Browns were the joke of the NFL for the longest time. Like it's insane how long they were the joke of the NFL. But they're finally like making a climb out of that, you know? And I would argue that that climb really started in 2019. I think we saw moments of it in 2018, but specifically 2019 and 2020 were really great years from the Browns. And then again, this last year, I mean, they dealt with some injuries. Obviously, the Baker Mayfield situation is not exactly ideal. Odell seemed to be apparently kind of cancerous, and a distraction. So a lot there that is not necessarily in Kwesi's control, but I love that he has been in these scenarios where there's been a lot of pressure. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he has been in situations, kind of as I previously stated, where it's like we're turning this thing around and we're doing it quick. Like we're still going to believe in developing players. Don't get me wrong, but we still want guys who are going to come out.
That's exactly what Mark Wilf said. I mean, this isn't like a rebuild with this team right now. I would say more of a retool. We have the pieces here. We need the right leadership in charge of this team. You know what I mean? 100%. We've got guys that can go out there and make plays. I say we had a couple more pieces, retool a couple positions, but it's like at the end of the day, like you said, this isn't a rebuild. This Vikings team, we can win it, but we just got to fix a couple things with leadership wise because it wasn't there these last couple of years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, the Vikings, they bring in Kwesi today. It was his second interview. Again, originally on the docket, they had Ryan Poles interviewing tomorrow, but he has taken the Chicago Bears job. As soon as that news broke, it became very clear to a lot of NFL insiders, or so it was reported, that the Vikings were going to make a hard swing at signing Adofo-Mensah. As of right now, a deal is not in place, at least that we know of. There has been no word of him signing any sort of pen to paper. Let me just, update Twitter real quick and make
A
sure.
lot of just like, I don't know how to describe this. A lot of like teasers, I should say, kind of pointing towards that, though. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
100%. And I mean, to be fair, you can see this here, especially if you're on YouTube. Adam Schefter literally 9 minutes ago just tweeted that the Bears have officially hired Chiefs director of player personnel Ryan Poles as their general manager. So like that news came out again early today, and he only just put pen to paper. Now, there's a video going around on Twitter. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you've not, depending on how into this thing you are, of Kwesi leaving TCO Performance Center, basically. And in the background, you can hear, I don't know who it is. I wish I could pick out the voice, but I believe it's a woman saying, okay, we'll cancel your flight. And if you need anything else, let me know. So it leads me to believe, and I love this. I wasn't the first person who thought of this because I know some other people tweeted it immediately, but I'm willing to bet he's getting a private car ride right over to the Omni Viking Hotel across the street. Yeah. He's going to go get suited up and freshened up. They're going to take him to Manny's for a nice steak dinner. Probably going to sit down with the Wilfs and Brzezinski and God knows everyone else. Yeah. And they're just gonna kind of shoot the and probably just BS a little bit and talk and get the details of this thing worked out. I honestly would not be surprised if tomorrow morning we're seeing Kwesi Adofo-Mensah sign the contract with the Minnesota Vikings to be their next general manager. And as you stated earlier before we started recording, Tyler, potentially a press conference, which would be absolutely amazing to see right away. Because that's where we're going to get a lot. He's going to be hit with a ton of questions out the gate. I mean, there's already there's speculation everywhere with all sorts of ideas. Obviously, head coach is going to be a huge thing, which we're going to get into here in a second. Now that we have kind of the GM almost figured out, where do we think that head coach search is going to be tailored towards, and what our thoughts are on that. But as far as Kwesi Adofo-Mensah goes, like, what are your thoughts when everything boils down to the hiring of this guy? Him maybe not necessarily being like a football guy at heart, as far as like he got a sports management degree or a kinesiology degree and immediately started working for NFL teams and kind of built his way up. No, this guy went into finances. He went to Wall Street and he did it at a super high, level there. And then, this team in Santa Clara was like, hey man, you want to come work with analytics for us, and obviously he's made an insane name for himself in 9 years, basically. He's gonna have a GM job in 9 years working in the NFL. That's insane.
That is insane. That is absolutely crazy. But for me, it's like you don't have to have like the most insane like football background like this. For me, I really just want someone that's a leader, someone that can help change this culture of this Vikings organization, get rid of all this negative drama. Oh wait,
negative drama.
So okay. This negative drama that's been going around with this team for years. The communications with this team has just been terrible with Zimmer and Spielman. You saw the articles and all the. We need a
toxicity that's come out. Yeah.
Yes, I want an organization, someone who can help lead in more of a positive direction, can be on the same page with basically everyone, and someone who makes good decisions, isn't afraid of the big decision to hopefully take the team to the next step. Get everyone on board, not have people in and out of situations. For example, Mike Zimmer not wanting Kirk Cousins, even though Spielman pulled the trigger. You know what I mean? I need a guy who can be on the same page and be able to communicate when something is right and when something is wrong. Because I feel like that's what went wrong with the Vikings these last couple of years. And you don't have to be the most like football. It doesn't. We need a leader, someone who can take this team to the next level.
Yeah, I love that, and I think the thing that I like the most about this hire is that you're getting fresh blood. You're getting a young guy. He's 40 years old, I think. He's 40 years old.
That's very young.
Mean, that practically guarantees too that you're not going to have an older head coach, right? Like this narrows down your head coach search as well, or at least speculation. Like they're not going to pair Kwesi with who's going to be out there, like Dan Quinn. I probably wouldn't even pair him with a Dan Quinn, to be honest with you.
And I don't want Dan Quinn
or Sean Payton. Dun dun dun. After retiring today from the New Orleans Saints.
Crazy.
Yeah, very crazy. But I think that we're going to see a lot of young blood come into this organization, guys that are willing to hopefully sit down with the players, with everyone, as far as like the coaching staff and the front office getting together more often and talking. And as you mentioned, having communication between the head coach and the GM. Like I'm just so excited for a far more like well-oiled machine to be taking place here in Minnesota. And I think that's what Kwesi brings. And I think Poles could have brought that too. But I already see the Bears screwing up that hire. And quite honestly, other people have said this, but I believe it too. If Poles really thinks that Chicago is a better situation than Minnesota, I don't want him making decisions anyways.
Right.
That just proves that he's obviously incapable of actually, understanding. So, lots of interesting stuff to get into here for sure. Let's kind of shift our focus now. And I mean, we're still staying on the track of Kwesi, right? Because that's the only, practically guaranteed news that's coming out of today as far as the Vikings are concerned. But how do you see this affecting the head coach situation? And then from there, we'll get into maybe start thinking about how it could affect the quarterback situation as well. Okay.
With the
speculation that's going on, around that, or other parts of the team.
Because I have my opinion. Yeah, I definitely have my opinions on that. But for me, if Kwesi obviously probably going to be the guy. For head coach, I mean, I think it comes down to three guys. I really think DeMeco Ryans is my number one guy as like a defensive mind. Then probably Mike McDaniel.
DeMeco Ryans, by the way, is the defensive coordinator for the 49ers right now.
Right. Honestly,
just for those who don't know.
Mike McDaniel he's the offensive coordinator for the 49ers. But I'm going to be honest.
Mike McDaniels, yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he would be a cool guy, but it's like, I mean, that's more of Shanahan's scheme and all that.
Which I'm not necessarily against, but
I think DeMeco's.
Anyway, keep going.
And then my third is probably honestly Kevin O'Connell. Thinking about it,
really.
Yeah,
out of LA.
LA. I don't know if you saw an article about this, but I read something about how Sean McVay is giving him a lot of credit for that offense. I mean, obviously Sean McVay is the mastermind there, but he's giving O'Connell a lot of props in dealing with that offense.
I definitely don't hate that hire. It's actually
really calling a chunk of the plays.
Saying that because I'm watching the LA Rams versus Tampa Bay right now on NFL Network, and they literally just had a close up of O'Connell as you said his name.
That's hilarious! Oh my gosh!
But, yeah, right. What are the odds? But I like that hire. But I'm surprised that you went O'Connell instead of mentioning Raheem Morris.
Yeah, I know you're a Raheem Morris guy.
I do like Raheem Morris. I do. He's another defensive guy, so a lot of people are.
I really get the argument.
But then why are people not turned away by the DeMeco Ryans? And I like him. I like him a lot. I like DeMeco quite a bit as well. But yeah, when you get into like the Mike McDaniels versus Kevin O'Connell, I think I'm Kevin O'Connell.
I am Kevin O'Connell. Yes. Totally.
What I mean? Like I think that's a no-brainer. So for me, it comes down to Are you hiring Kevin O'Connell? Are you hiring D'Amico Ryans? Are you hiring Raheem Morris? I think Mike McDaniels, quite honestly, is out of the conversation.
Yep, I do too.
If I'm in that room,
yeah,
I don't know what ties. Obviously he's a San Fran guy. So
that's why I said that name because of the ties with Kwesi. Right. Yeah.
And that's understandable. But at the same, like in the same breath, if we're just talking guys that now Kwesi has ties to, what about a Mike Prefer reunion?
Dude, that wasn't even. Come on. Come on.
Special teams coordinator of the decade, man.
Yeah.
That's, for those of you who don't understand the joke, Mike Prefer was a horrible special teams coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, and then he
actually took over as intern.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. He was. I think it's I got him twice, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah, twice. That's right.
And then twice. Yeah.
Yeah, but then now he's in Cleveland, which is obviously where Kwesi is coming from. So yeah, man. So okay, but I guess I'm gonna and I'll make myself nail down a guy as well.
Right.
Between those three guys, since we kind of agree that it probably comes down to those three. Who do you see getting the job and why? Or if you're talking to Kwesi, if you're his number two, he brings Tyler Williams on as his assistant general manager. You guys are having a conversation. Who are we going after for the Minnesota Vikings head coach?
I want D'Amico Ryans. That's just my guy right now. I am on the D'Amico Ryans train. I really love what he did with this defense this past year. They lost Robert Saleh. They lost a lot of key pieces from 2019's team. Yes, they're still a really good defense, but he basically rebuilt this defense this year. They're not as good as they were on paper in 2019. And this defense specifically is playing with a lot of confidence in San Francisco. I've loved their game plan too, especially these last two playoff games. They've played really well, like extremely well, specifically against Green Bay. I mean, that was wow. Even against Dallas, I mean, they made Dallas' offense look silly, specifically in the first half. Dak Prescott had nowhere to go with the ball. He looked rattled in the pocket.
D'Amico Ryans, and I before I get too far into this, I just want to say you stole my shocking reveal because we set this whole thing up about me being a Raheem Morris guy, but I'm more now on the D'Amico Ryans train than I am on the Morris train these days. I love Morris. Don't get me wrong. I am not going to be mad if he gets hired. But I agree with you 1,000%. I am all over D'Amico Ryans right now for the next head coach. And I think it comes down to this reason. D'Amico Ryans has single-handedly, just in the last 2 weeks, eliminated, not that he was ever in my running personally. I think I've been very vocal about that on the show already.
Right.
But he eliminated Kellen Moore and Nathaniel Hackett for a lot of people for the head coach position.
Why did I completely forget about Hackett? Why did that name just not come into my head? I'm gonna be honest with you. I completely forgot about Hackett. I completely forgot that the Vikings actually interviewed him because that seemed almost 2 weeks ago. To be honest, now. Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy. But that's what I mean, man. You summed it up perfectly. He has taken a defense that, granted, was already really good, but so what? I mean, he took over for Robert Saleh, who went to New York, and I truly believe he is going to turn that team completely upside down in a fantastic way. I think Saleh is going to make the New York Jets into something that is actually worth being called an NFL team in the coming years. So for D'Amico to step in for Saleh and do such a good job right off the bat, kind of retooling this defense, I feel like that's such an easy primer for this Vikings team, right?
Oh, that's what this Vikings team exactly needs, a retool on defense. Oh my goodness.
Yes, it's like a perfect primer for this Vikings team. It's like him and Kwesi getting together, I can just see the things that they could come up with, the guys that they could go after in free agency, players that they could target in the draft, obviously, potentially through other trades in the league, getting guys from other teams. Like, I see that combination bringing the Vikings back.
I really want to point something out here, and I was totally on board. Like, I was one of the guys before we even started this process, right when the season ended. Offense, right? But the problem with the offense with Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, right? It was Mike Zimmer being stubborn and him with the old age, obviously. This guy, D'Amico Ryans, shouldn't have to deal with the offense. D'Amico's a young guy. He's 37 years old right now. Kwesi's, what did you say, 40?
40.
These are both young individuals. They should be caught up with the speed and what era of the NFL we are in right now, right?
Not to mention D'Amico coming from the Mike Shanahan system. Still.
The tree, yeah.
Like
exactly.
the dude is still there. He's in all of those meetings. He's talking to Shanahan.
Exactly.
He's talking, to McDaniels. Like he's getting this information. And I have no doubt that the offensive coordinator that he brings on, not to mention how amazing it would be if he somehow snagged Mike McDaniels as a co-head coach offensive coordinator. That would be insane.
Yep.
But like just that by itself, knowing that, yes, he has the title of defensive coordinator, but he has the knowledge of a head coach most likely already.
Yep.
So refreshing. So refreshing. Doesn't mean he's going to be like this absolute stud head coach that knows all the intricacies of like game management and all of that stuff. But at the very least, he is a leader of men, which is something that I have been saying.
Yep. That's what we need.
Yes, since these talks first started. That is like the number one box that needs to be checked, in my opinion. Can you fire your team up? Can you talk to your individual team members and make them feel like this is a place that they want to be, not lead by fear like Mike Zimmer did, because that only gets you so far. No, and I want a championship. I don't want to just get to the playoffs. Oh man, dude, D'Amico Ryans, I am all over him right now. All over him. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be super interesting. And the other thing, perfect segue into the next part that we want to talk about, is he's a defensive guy, and he probably believes in, similar to what the Niners did this last draft class, picking a quarterback to develop, seeing that mediocrity can only get you so far. And I say that again with obviously the Niners still being alive in the NFC right now, but I think that LA could easily blow their gates off come this weekend. As much as I love their defense, I think it'll be a good game. I just don't think that Jimmy G is going to be able to pull off,
after Saturday they won that game, but it's like, man,
Jimmy just tried to give that game away. You know what I mean? And so it's only a matter of time until Trey Lance gets into that system and yada yada yada. Well, this isn't the Niners podcast. You can see where I'm going with that, though.
Right.
The idea is Kirk's the same way. If I'm these two guys, if this is the group that gets hired, and quite honestly, it's the same, I think, with any of these names. If you get McDaniels, or not a McDaniels, I don't want McDaniels. If you get O'Connell,
or Ryans
or Morris, if you get any three of those guys, I think that they are going to look at getting rid of Kirk Cousins. So what is your perspective, your thoughts on that, and how do you maybe see that unfolding?
My thoughts are, to be honest with you, this is nothing really against Kirk. I think Kirk's a good quarterback, but will Kirk get this team to the promised land? I don't think so. I think with the new GM hire, the new head coach hire, I think, like you said, new era of Vikings football, right? And I don't new era. I really don't know if I see Kirk Cousins in this era. I think the quarterback position might need to change. I'm sick of all this fan garbage where everyone's on complete different sides and believing where Kirk Cousins should fall. I think it's time we just flush this down the drain and get rid of it. It's gotten to that point. A fresh start at quarterback would be very nice. Now, I think you take a chance on a guy in the draft, but you also maybe look free agency somewhere. I really think, and it's nothing against like Kirk's playing. I think Kirk's a good quarterback, but is he going to get the team to the promised land? No. So I think it's really just time for the Vikings to really try to find your franchise guy, because Kirk's not your franchise guy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, we haven't been alive in a time where the Vikings have had a franchise quarterback, because a lot of people thought that that's what Kirk was going to be. But the fact that we're talking about getting rid of him already tells you he's not that. He's not going to be there.
No.
And like you said, you know, it's definitely nothing against Kirk. I think Kirk, like you said, is a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I think quite honestly, I think that if Kirk Cousins was in San Fran right now instead of Jimmy Garoppolo, they would have probably beat Kansas City in 2019.
Probably. And they probably would have put up more than 13 against freaking the Packers the other night.
Yeah. Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. 100%. I think if he was in there right now, I probably would be picking San Francisco to win the Super Bowl this year. Just because, again, I think that they would have already beat Kansas City. So in my mind, it's like, well, they've already done it.
Yeah.
Not to say that your Cincinnati Bengals aren't going to give them a run for money.
No.
I really hope to see Cincinnati.
Stop. Yeah, we need Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. America needs it. It's not just me. It's America now, man.
I agree. Joey Burrow, friend of the show. But point is, like, Kirk Cousins has to be in a situation where everything is right.
Yep.
Like, he's got to have a nice O-line. He's got to have weapons, which, boy, that's the San Francisco 49ers right now. And then he's got to have a defense that keeps, the game within within an amount that even if he makes his mistakes that he's always due for after however many games, it's not going to immediately change everything and like make you lose because of one mistake or two mistakes that he makes. I think you can say that about a lot of quarterbacks. That's why there's only, when you ask experts, 15 to 10 guys in the league at any given time that are considered good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, I should say, because there's so many good quarterbacks. And I think Kirk is kind of on the edge there. You can make an argument, but I was about to say it's nothing against Kirk. That's what I was about to say as a person, but it is against Kirk as a person. I don't think he's a leader. I don't think that he is team first. I think he's proven that this year. I think he's proven that on multiple occasions. So, I want to go out. I want to get a young guy that somebody in this organization can throw their support behind and basically say, like, hey, man, this is a mutual deal here. We believe in you fully. Now you need to believe in us fully, because that's the only way that you're going to get that type of leader and that type of player, I think.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to get into the weeds of things, but I think that the two most likely landing spots for Kirk Cousins is probably either Pittsburgh or
that's my number one,
or potentially even Cleveland.
Right. Yeah.
I think those are your top two at the moment. And I think obviously the Cleveland thing with Kwesi being literally coming from Cleveland, that's, huge tie there. But then, with Pittsburgh, biggest thing there is they're going to lose Ben Roethlisberger. And if they immediately have somebody that they can plug in at that quarterback position, somebody who can play at a high level, which Kirk can play at a high level at, 75% of the time. That's a team that can go to the playoffs. I believe that. I think that Kirk would do really well in Pittsburgh. And I'm not saying that I don't want him to do well, but I just don't see him winning a Super Bowl here in Minnesota. So That's where I see that going. And not to get super, super into the weeds, but I don't want anything less than a first and a third. Exactly what Detroit got for Stafford. I need that at the very least for Kirk Cousins.
Oh yeah, no, we need a first out of that for sure. First and a third would be insane. That's exactly what the Vikings should want.
100%. But yeah, I mean, like, do you kind of get what I'm saying as far as like, especially on the head coaching side? You know, I mean, it's
Right.
one thing with the GM kind of inheriting this team. Like, you're brought in, and now it's your job to kind of fix it in the ways that you are capable. But with a head coach specifically, a new head coach, like, if I was any of those three guys coming in here, I would be like, nah, I don't even care if I have to deal with a year of like bad first year quarterback play. I want my guy. I want a dude that I know I can develop the right way and that I actually believe in, instead of just the dude that's like leftovers from, you know, a regime that failed because of this quarterback. Because of because of the differences in beliefs over what this quarterback is for them. So, but I don't know. Do you agree, or how do you feel?
I want Cousins. I want him gone. I don't.
As far as the head coaching deal though goes, or do you see any of those candidates that we've kind of tied to Kwesi maybe saying, yeah, let's keep Kirk and let's see what I can do as far as bringing this in for him?
Maybe Kevin, because I know he's got a really nice offensive background that putting Kirk in a new scheme might actually work, but who knows? I don't. I think D'Amico probably wants a change, or
Raheem. I think Raheem Morris would absolutely want to change, and quite honestly, I could see Raheem Morris. And I've kind of run this by other people. I could see Raheem Morris and Kwesi working out a trade to send Kirk somewhere wherein they don't get a quarterback in return. But then Raheem Morris talks to Kwesi and says, hey, you should go to the Falcons and ask what you have to give up for a year of Matty Ice. And quite honestly, I would take 1 year of Matty Ice. If you got a quarterback if you got a quarterback in the draft that you could put under Matty Ice for a year, I think that would be pretty sweet. I mean, the dude's got a cannon. He could definitely throw it downfield to JJ and Thielen.
Oh, I wouldn't hate that. I don't know if Ice gets this team. But I get what you're saying.
No, I don't think we're going for a Super Bowl year one. Like, that's my point.
True.
Like, I think no matter what, you kind of need this, at least this first year, to kind of get all of these pieces into place, and then it's like you hit the ground running, you know?
Right.
But yeah, obviously that's like a crazy scenario
that's like an insane scenario you just pulled out of left field.
I'm just putting it out there. I mean, it's not that far from reality. It's definitely not that far from reality. It's feasible.
Right.
It aspects of it make some sense. So, but that's all that I have, man. Anything else that you want to add?
Maybe just one thing. What are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on McCardle, man? You hope he's coming back, because I do.
Dude, you know how I feel about this. So,
right. But you heard the comments. You heard the comments with JJ and Adam, right?
Yes.
Adam obviously said on the Lieber podcast, and then JJ, I think, was on his Instagram story, I believe.
Yeah.
Basically responding to it and saying, "Bring this dude back, Vikings."
Yeah, I still need to listen all the way through that podcast because I've heard that episode's really good. But yes, I saw the quotes. I saw the JJ story post, all that stuff. I think makes 1,000,000% sense. Like, I've been saying this since day one. Keenan McCardle was a insane signing for the Vikings. I was all over it. I mean, there's literally, I think, a whole entire episode from the beginning of this season.
We've got right, we do. Yep. McCardle.
His signing. And I've been saying it since we knew that Zim was out, that I wouldn't mind seeing Cardale get a shot at OC, or at least being interviewed for that position. Now, that's something that, you know, you're not even going to see reports on that. That's something that the next head coach is going to do internally and privately. But at the very, very least, I will absolutely stand on any mountaintop and scream praises of Keenan McCardale and hope that he stays with the Minnesota Vikings organization. I think that both your star receivers saying like, hey man, as far as anybody goes, like keep this man. I think that's huge, especially JJ.
Right.
Because like that's a dude you need to keep happy.
That's your future. That's your franchise. Right.
That's your franchise. So like keep him happy, make sure that he feels comfortable. And if the dude is teaching him how to be a better receiver in the NFL when he's already a top 5 at the least wide receiver, why would you want it? Why would you want to get rid of that?
Why would you piss him off, man? It just doesn't make sense.
Yes, 100%. Because wherever he goes and signs is exactly where JJ is going to hold out to sign once his 5th-year option ends.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up, though, because, I totally forgot that was like a big deal happening. So we shall see. I'm excited about all of the different interviews that are going on around the NFL right now. Obviously, you got Dan Quinn. I think Brian DeBoll both have interviews with Chicago coming up. Dan Quinn and Todd Bowles have interviews with the Raiders. Sean Payton, obviously, again, retiring today. Like,
keep Todd Bowles away from here. I'm sorry.
Oh, my God. Yeah. No. Well, Todd Bowles is like now a 0% chance of happening. Yeah. Now that you've signed or are going to sign Kwesi, like it would be stupid to sign Todd. That play
that happened on Sunday really annoyed me with Todd Bowles. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, good God. Yeah.
Hey,
man. Zero blitz
against a team that has Cooper Kupp. Yeah, good idea. And Matthew Stafford was a freaking hose. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll keep him from a head coach job. We'll see. But and there's other guys too. Bieniemy, I'm excited to see if he ends up going to Denver or like whatever. Like I'm very. There's a lot of things happening. And I didn't really get to finish, but the Sean Payton situation with him retiring today abruptly, at least for a majority of us abruptly, maybe people in the organization knew, but like that franchise is going to be, I think, a little over $50 million over the cap projected this next year. Like whoever is walking into the New Orleans Saints organization as their next head coach is set up for so much failure. It's not even funny.
Yeah, cap hit is not looking too great.
Yeah, well, and you know who has the second worst cap hit coming up?
Oh, yeah.
Lots of interesting stuff. We will keep you updated as always as the weeks go on. Recording schedule will most likely stay pretty fluent as far as Minnesota Vikings news is concerned. We'll be recording when stuff drops. So hopefully we know who the head coach is soon so that we can get another episode. Obviously, always, love recording these episodes for you guys and making sure the information gets out there. Hopefully we're bringing you a daily dose of Minnesota Vikings news that's, helpful. I'm sure it is, but man, I'm just so excited for this new era, dude. I just cannot wait. I cannot wait.
I know.
Amount of freaking applications I'm already putting in for this organization, brother. Oh, you and I will talk. So,
oh my God.
With that, we will end this episode of Vikes with a Mic. As I said, recording schedule's kind of up in the air, so look for us the next time you see the Vikings.
Hopefully next week. Hopefully we hire somebody next week.
Hey, man, yes. Fingers crossed next week. That would be absolutely amazing. But if not, you got more time to go to our website, www.vikeswiththemike.com. Check out all our previous episodes there. You can follow us on Twitter at vikeswiththemike.com. You can find us on YouTube, watch the videos, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Interact. We love when we get comments because we want to, incorporate stuff in the show that you guys want to see. So with that, thank you again so much. Get ready for a new era of Scourgers because it is going to be a good one. I have a great feeling about this, and that is very rare when it comes to Minnesota Vikings.
Oh yeah,
or sports in general for me. So, I cannot wait, and I hope you cannot not wait. We will see you in the next episode. And as always, Skull.